Crossroads Motel, can I help you?
If there is one thing I will not tolerate, it is people shouting at the top of their voices.
There's nobody like Noele Gordon.
To prove?
She was a star and looked a star and dressed like a star.
She was a pioneer for women in television.
Crossroads was everything to her.
I will.
It was her life.
Why was it you that had to go?
I don't know. I haven't been able to find out.
I could see how hurt she was. She didn't want to go.
The Queen of the Midlands.
She was the governor. There was no doubt about that.
I'm Meg Mortimer, and this is my motel.
In the 1960s and 70s, 18 million viewers checked into the Crossroads Motel every weekday tea time.
Mr. Chance.
Mrs. Mortimer.
To follow the life of series matriarch Meg Mortimer, played by Noele Gordon.
He lost. I've got to pay.
She used to have this wonderful statement to new people coming and say, oh, there's no stars in this programme. And we think,
The star was born on Christmas Day 1919 in East London. With her father away in the Merchant Navy, she was brought up by her mother, known to all as Jockey.
Nolly's mother was known as Jockey mainly because of her size, I think. She was a very, very petite lady, and she was a huge influence in Nolly's life.
She desperately wanted me to be in the theatre. From the moment I was born, I didn't have a chance, because she had indeed always wanted to be on the stage, but was far too shy.
Encouraged by Jockey, Noele studied at RADA and quickly found work as an actress. Throughout the 1940s, she earned a regular living on the stage and in occasional films.
Good evening, Mrs. Robinson. We just thought we'd pop over to say goodbye.
Hello, Mrs. Robinson.
Hello.
This time tomorrow you'll be rocking in the cradle of the deep, eh?
She was great. She was talented. She could sing. She could act. And I remember doing her hair. I mean, she'd be going out to dinner, very glamorous after the show. And she used to say, can you come in? And I used to put it up in a ponytail for her. And off she would go to have a lovely dinner with you-know-who.
You-know-who was the married theatrical impresario Val Parnell. 29 years her senior, Noele had a long-term affair with him, which started when she was just 19.
Val Parnell ran the London Palladium, and for years and years there was a show every Sunday night, Val Parnell's Sunday Night from the London Palladium.
Val Parnell, dynamic, tall, handsome, and could give us all work, yes.
She did think that he was going to, at one stage, or some stage, leave his wife and marry her.
By the time she was in her mid-30s, Noele found fewer acting roles available. Encouraged by Val, she looked for opportunities in the fledgling television industry.
Noele was really helped, I think, in the early days by two people. Val Parnell, certainly, but also Lou Grade, who was her agent for a while.
In 1954, TV mogul Lou Grade offered Noele a job as head of lifestyle programs for his brand new company, ATV. Her first mission was to cross the Atlantic to research the techniques of American broadcasters.
She went to New York and spent a year studying daytime television and the techniques and the style of daytime television, which then was, quite revolutionary. We weren't doing it here. So she was a great pioneer.
On her return, Lou sent her to Birmingham to work for ATV Midlands, where she put her American knowledge to good use, creating and presenting the UK's first lifestyle programme, Lunchbox.
she was really queen of lunchtime. And, daytime television really didn't exist before she did some.
I'd love to see you doing the can-can.
I'd love to see me doing the can-can. You never can tell. Who knows?
You never can tell, I think. Oh, can-can!
It was the camera turned inwards on women and what women found interesting and what women wanted to talk about. And then she would just get up and do a bit of cabaret at the same time.
would I answer yes to?
Noel would try anything. And when it was suggested that it might be a nice idea if they came up with a new programme, Noele Gordon Takes the Air, the first reaction was, yeah, I'll be in on that.
She was the first woman ever on television to learn how to fly and actually got her pilot's licence. So she paved the way for all of us who came later on. We owed a lot to her.
My funny Valentine.
Despite success on screen, Noel suffered a personal blow as her 20-year affair with Val Parnell came to an end.
You make me smile.
She was terribly stoic about, as only Nolly could be, because she said, well, of course, he was Catholic, and I quite understand, he felt he couldn't go against his vows, etc. And that was fine until he suddenly marries his secretary, who is about, I don't know, much younger, and that broke her heart, I think.
If you ever...
Disappointed in love, she threw herself into her career. Then, on the 21st of November 1964, ATV launched a new 5-night-a-week soap opera that would make Noele Gordon the most recognised face on British television.
The story of Crossroads, it was about a motel in the Midlands, and Meg, Noele Gordon, ran this motel.
And you still find time to do shopping in the town?
Well, I've got to, you see, because I've only got a teenage daughter helping me. My schoolboy son isn't a lot of use, and we're expecting a Spanish cook.
I think the idea right from the word go was that she would be the central sort of pivot of the whole show.
You, Meg! You, right under my very nose.
Me, the idea Midlander?
You, the centrepiece as a Midland.
Jimmy Gudgeon, you're demented.
There was only 8 of us, you know, and we did 2.5 hours of television with no retakes every week. Did get the adrenaline going, though.
Because Crossroads, we shot as live. We started with scene 1 of part 1, and we went straight through, because we had no editing, straight through until the end of part 1, and then we stopped.
Getting the show to time was always very difficult. If you were sort of under, which we often were, Reg Watson would turn around and say, give Nolly a phone call.
Yes, sir, yes, we are within easy reach of Stratford-on-Avon.
You wouldn't rehearse it or do anything. She'd just say, oh, leave it to me, darling, I'll just rab it on.
Very handy for the NEC and the airport.
And the floor manager would actually count her down. 10, 9,
Yes.
8, 7, 5,
Thank
4,
you very much,
3.
sir. We look forward to seeing you. Bye-bye.
Back on the scene.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Carey.
By the same token, we had the Crossroads captions came down and across. A lot of people wonder why sometimes they would go so slow. It meant we've got time on our hands.
Crossroads proved popular with viewers from the start, although it didn't enjoy critical success, the most frequent accusation referring to its less than sturdy sets.
I shouldn't wonder.
It's very quiet everywhere today.
I was in it for 4 years with quite a major part, and happily so. I honestly didn't see the sets wobble.
We know our limitations, we know our faults, and we would love to have the time to put them right. But if we had the time to put them right, we wouldn't be able to do a soap opera.
She loved her show, and everybody accepted that it was Noele Gordon's show. She was the governor. There was no doubt about that.
She had her own chair in the green room. On pain of death, you sat in that chair.
She didn't suffer fools, but she would make allowances.
She would always go over the scenes with you. She never would say, no, darling, I haven't time, or anything like that, like some people would.
Remarkable woman. Could be a pain, but then can't we all?
In the early days of Crossroads, Meg went to prison, saw her only son paralysed, and was victim of several attempts to sabotage her motel.
These are dead spiders. They didn't get there of their own accord.
And there was a strong hook at the end of every programme, and people turned on to see what happened.
You realise we may be bankrupt? And if we are, it means that I've lost everything that I've worked for all these years.
But the show also had its lighter moments.
Oh, come on now, Meg. How about a song from you?
Yes,
come on.
That Christmas day when she burst into song was hysterical, and I think the whole studio was going, I don't believe this is happening, but never mind, it did.
For we need a little Christmas right this very minute.
I shall never forget that. I wanted the ground to swallow me up.
It hasn't snowed a single flurry, but Santa dear, we're in a hurry.
And I thought, I am embarrassed. But I looked and I thought, no, Nolly, you're not, so I won't be. And we all sang away, and it was because of her confidence in doing it. Good on her.
Mum, well, when did you...
Get back just now.
But when did you decide to come back? Why didn't you tell us?
Warn you mean?
Throughout the 1970s, Noele Gordon was the undisputed queen of ATV and Crossroads.
Within the studios, she was a presence, and you knew when Noele was in the building. It was almost as though they hung a flag.
The Queen of the Midlands. That's what she was known as.
I declare the lens and traffic bar.
She was a professional through and through. If somebody says, over here, Noele, she wouldn't turn around and go, what, over here? She'd go around going... So she never got the bad picture.
Noele Gordon had always wanted the Rolls Royce. She paid £11,500 for it, and she adored it.
NG10 was the number plate. I remember being in the rehearsal room one day when she came in. She said, Alan, darling, to the director, I think Pamela's going to be rather late this morning. I just drove past her at the bus stop. She didn't mean it.
By 1975, over 18 million viewers were regularly watching Crossroads, many of them for one reason only.
Every year, ITV held the TV Times Award, and every year she won the award for Personality of the Year. And she was winning it so many times that it became embarrassing because sort of nobody else was getting a look in. So they created sort of a Hall of Fame that she then went on to win that every year as well.
And nowhere was Noel's popularity with viewers more obvious than during Meg's 1975 on-screen wedding to Hugh Mortimer.
The whole of Birmingham came to it. I can remember trying to just get there. I caught the train into Birmingham, walked to the cathedral, which wasn't far, and there's all these people. And I kept saying, I'm supposed to be in that, and they go, get back, please, back up, keep this back, please. We've got cars coming down. So I fought my way in. The cathedral was packed to the gunnels.
And will you love him, comfort him, honour and keep him in sickness and in health?
I will.
It was just the most bizarre occasion. I mean, she's supposed to be the owner of a motel outside Birmingham. What a wedding. I mean, we had Larry Grayson driving Nolly's Rolls. It's really when reality transcends the story. But what the hell? It worked. It was amazing.
Despite her on-screen romances, Noele never married.
Nolly's main problem as far as men was concerned was that she was always attracted to married men. It meant that she never found a man of her own.
I think the one love of her life was Val Parnell, and when that came to an end, so did everything else. I mean, she just immersed herself in work.
With no man in her life, the one constant presence by Noel's side was her mother, Jockey.
Nolly and Jockey lived above each other. Jockey lived in the flat upstairs, Nolly lived in the flat downstairs, but they spent a lot of time together. She used to sit every night with Nolly learning her lines and everything.
Bless her heart, Jockey, she was fabulous. They were more like great friends than mother and daughter, great friends.
But in 1978, Jockey was diagnosed with terminal cancer. She died 6 weeks later.
They had the most wonderful relationship, and Nolly was absolutely devastated when she finally died.
Alone, for the first time in her life, Noele began to look to her Crossroads colleagues for support.
She did treat me very much as a daughter and would ask my advice sometimes. She didn't always take it.
We had a very strange relationship, in as much that it was servant and master. I was the servant, and Noel was the master. She would say, Adams, I think another vodka martini. Adams, what is for supper? Adams, the rolls. And Adams got the rolls.
Crossroads was everything to her. It was her life. And she had no other. Once her mother died, that was it.
But in 1981, after 17 years on Crossroads, Noel received some shocking news from her ATV bosses.
I got a phone call. She said, darling, I've been sacked. I thought, oh, God. Why do theatricals have to be so dramatic, darling? Of course you haven't been bloody sacked. Charles Denton, darling, is not renewing my contract. I have been sacked. Can you come and see me? I said, of course I'll come and see you. I got there, and she was standing on the doorstep, and she looked awful. She looked just awful.
As she emerged from rehearsals today, Miss Gordon admitted she was shattered by her sacking, but remained philosophical.
I have got nothing to regret. I've got a lot to look forward to.
But how easy is it going to be for you to do another part after all this time? Because in the public minds, you're still going to be the same person, aren't you?
Just say one thing. Watch me. I'll do it.
It was huge news when she was sacked from Crossroads, because no matter what ATV said, no matter what gloss they tried to put on it, the fact is that they had dumped their huge star. All right, maybe it was turning into a dinosaur and she was the chief dinosaur on it, I don't know. But they unceremoniously dumped her, and they shouldn't have.
The end, when it came, was every bit as dramatic as the sacking itself.
I thought you were... It was a lovely, lovely scene. And the awful thing was, there was Noele, this was her, her swan song, really.
I'm going away.
How long?
If that means when am I coming back, the answer's never. I've turned my back on the motel. My life there's finished.
And we were both very emotional about it. And I think all the crew were, too.
Goodbye.
It was a wonderful time in a way, but it was, oh dear, it was bittersweet.
Meg set sail on the QE2 on the 11th of November 1981. Later that evening, Noel appeared on a chat show to talk about her sacking.
It's a high-rating programme. You're the linchpin of it. Why was it you that had to go?
I don't know. I haven't been able to find out.
I could see how hurt she was. And in fact, I liked the fact that she said it as it is.
I'm sober and clean and quiet living, and I learn my lines, and they just suddenly,
Don't waffle about and say, no, it's fine. No, it's not fine. She didn't want to go.
Crossroads ran for a further 7 years without Noele Gordon.
When they actually got rid of her, I think it was a huge mistake. It was never the same as it was when Noel was in charge.
Goodbye.
But it wasn't goodbye. Within days of her dismissal, Noel received a lifeline. At the age of 61 and 30 years after she had last appeared in the theatre, she accepted a role as the ultimate pushy mother in the musical Gypsy.
I don't think she was too sure about going back on stage, but she made a decision, and when she made a decision, she put her heart and soul into it.
But I at least got a cry.
It was tremendously brave of her. I'll never forget the first night at Leicester. Suddenly, a lot of London theatricals were there, agents and producers and that, and you knew that quite a few of them thought that they were going to see her fail. And it was wonderful because they were on their feet with everybody else at the end.
But not wrong.
For the next 2 years, her theatrical career went from strength to strength.
The realisation you've been tricked.
That dirty Sebastian!
But in 1983, Noele suffered a devastating blow when she was diagnosed with stomach cancer.
She looked at me and she said, "We're going to beat this." And I said, "Yes, we are." And when she went to see the specialist, he said, "Well, of course, you'll retire now, you'll pack up." And she said, "No way."
Noele underwent treatment and less than 6 months later was back on stage in the musical No, No, Nanette.
For someone like Noele, getting back on stage was important, you know. And at first, we thought she was going to be okay. But then, sadly, it wasn't to be.
Just 3 weeks into the run, she was rushed back into hospital.
She said, "I am so, so scared." And I just thought, oh my God. Because, don't want to sound flippant, but she's a bit like an old groin on Brighton Beach. It was one wave after the other over her, but she still stood there. And she knew that she wasn't going to be standing there.
Noele Gordon died on the 14th of April, 1985. She was buried alongside her mother, Jockey.
She was royalty. She was definitely royalty. She was a brummy queen.
It was a joy to have known Noele. I'm pleased that I consider myself a friend of hers.
She was like Boadicea. And she's just radiated stardom and presence.
You can't help being proud of her, you know, because there's nobody like Noele Gordon.